Markets remember what people forget. They remember where money once flowed effortlessly and where it quietly stopped. There was a time when prosperity smelled like polished wood and machine oil, when Friday nights echoed with laughter, rolling thunder, and the metallic snap of pins falling in perfect formation. Bowling alleys weren't just buildings, they were economic engines disguised as leisure, predictable, reliable, almost invisible in how efficiently they printed cash. Then the sound faded. Not with scandal, not with collapse, but with neglect. One broken lane, one mechanic who never came back, one league that quietly disbanded and never returned. What looked like cultural decay was actually something colder, a shift in incentives, land values, and margins. And yet today, in cities where rent is measured in thousands per square foot, bowling alleys are reappearing. Not as community halls, but as neon-lit lounges with craft cocktails and velvet booths. This isn't nostalgia. It's a strategy. So what really killed the bowling alley? And why did money decide it was time to bring it back? To understand the death and rebirth of the bowling alley, you have to stop thinking about bowling as a game and start seeing it as a business model. At its peak in the mid-1960s, the United States had nearly 12,000 bowling centers. Bowling was one of the most participated recreational activities in the country, woven into working-class life, corporate leagues, church groups, and suburban routine. Entire commercial districts were built around it. Entire families planned their weeks around it. Today, fewer than 3,000 remain. That collapse wasn't driven by competition from video games or smartphones. It was driven by something far more powerful: economics. Specifically, how space, labor, and attention are priced in modern capitalism. Bowling alleys sit at the intersection of three forces: real estate, entertainment, and recurring consumer behavior. When those forces aligned, bowling thrived. When they diverged, the industry imploded. But beneath the surface, a second story was forming. One not about bowling at all, but about how value is extracted, where profit hides, and how businesses survive by redefining what they actually sell. The modern bowling alley isn't selling strikes. It's selling time, atmosphere, and alcohol at scale. And that shift explains everything that follows. Bowling didn't rise because it was trendy. It rose because it fit perfectly into the economic machinery of mid-20th century America. After World War II, the country was built on predictability. Factory shifts ended at the same hour every day. Suburbs expanded outward, not upward. Land was cheap. Time was structured. Community wasn't an algorithm, it was physical. Into that environment came the bowling alley. The early bowling business was a quiet masterpiece of recurring revenue. Roughly 70% of income came from leagues, groups of the same people, showing up on the same night every week for months at a time. This was a subscription model decades before the internet discovered the concept. Predictable cash flow, minimal marketing, maximum utilization of space. A bowling lane required about 1,000 square feet, but square footage was affordable, even abundant. Owners weren't speculating on land appreciation. They were monetizing repetition. The machines were new, the mechanics were trained, and maintenance costs were manageable. This was not a high-margin business. It was a high-certainty business. But hidden inside this stability was an invisible architecture, a blueprint built for a world that assumed nothing would fundamentally change. That assumption would prove fatal. Because when an industry is optimized for predictability, it becomes fragile to transformation. By the late 1970s and into the 1980s, the equilibrium began to crumble. Cities grew denser. Land prices skyrocketed. A 40-lane bowling alley in Manhattan or Los Angeles suddenly sat on real estate worth $50 million or more. The very ground beneath these businesses became more valuable than the games played on top. Meanwhile, the machines themselves became a liability. Each pinsetter was a mechanical marvel with over 3,000 moving parts, but maintaining them required skilled, specialized technicians. Many retired. Replacement parts became scarce. Lanes broke and stayed broken. Revenue, once predictable, began to evaporate. Leagues that had once guaranteed cash flow started to shrink. The social habits of the American public shifted. Leisure diversified. Families, once loyal, found alternatives in video games, arcades, or suburban malls. By the 1990s, the bowling alley wasn't dying in headlines. It was quietly being outpriced and outmanaged. Real estate owners noticed that replacing an alley with condos or retail offered returns far higher than maintaining a struggling business. Mechanical complexity met economic pressure, and the industry entered a death spiral. Then in the early 2000s, a new actor arrived, Bowlero Corp. Unlike traditional operators, Bowlero didn't mourn the collapse of the alley. They saw opportunity. They embarked on a strategic acquisition spree, buying failing mom-and-pop alleys at discounted prices. Today, the company owns nearly 350 centers and sits as a multi-billion-dollar public entity. The genius of Bowlero wasn't simply consolidation. It was redefinition. People weren't coming to bowl. They were coming to socialize. The lanes were now just a stage, the food and drinks the real profit. The model shifted from low-margin games to high-margin experiences. What followed wasn't just survival. It was a reinvention of an industry built on a precise understanding of psychology, economics, and design. The real transformation of bowling lies not in what you see, but in what you don't. Bowlero discovered a simple truth. People don't pay for activity, they pay for experience. The old model charged $5 per game, low margin and dependent on volume. The new model sells $15 cocktails and $20 burgers, turning the bowling lanes into background scenery for a far more profitable business. Lighting became a tool of economics. Harsh fluorescent lights that revealed every crack in the wood were replaced by nightclub neon, masking aging equipment and creating an environment where customers linger longer, drink more, and perceive value in atmosphere rather than activity. The waitlist strategy was equally deliberate. Modern alleys prioritize the bar and arcade areas. If a party waits 2 hours for a lane, they're not losing money. They're spending it at the bar, where margins soar. The lanes themselves are secondary, a silent engine to keep attention and money flowing. This isn't marketing, it's economic engineering. A single bowling center is now a high-margin microeconomy, where every design choice, lighting, layout, menu, is optimized to extract maximum profit. It's subtle, invisible, and brilliant. The game hasn't disappeared, it's just no longer the product. These shifts ripple far beyond the lanes. Workers no longer operate mechanical pinsetters. They serve cocktails and manage crowds. Communities no longer gather around predictable league schedules. They gather around curated experiences, paying for both participation and patience. Families that once built rituals around strikes and spares now rent a night out as part of the experience economy. Cultural habits shift. Expectations evolve. And yet no one is to blame. There are no villains. There are no heroes. Only systems, incentives, and invisible levers of power shaping choices, behavior, and opportunity. Every cocktail purchased, every hour spent waiting, every dollar exchanged echoes decisions made decades ago about land, machinery, and psychology. Bowling's story is a mirror, showing how industries rise and fall not from desire or demand alone, but from the careful alignment or misalignment of economics, technology, and human behavior. The bowling alley didn't just die. It was repriced, redesigned, and reborn. From leagues to lounges, from repetition to spectacle, from simple recreation to an engineered high-margin experience. The lanes remain, the pins still fall, but the real game now is invisible. It's the game of profit, psychology, and systems operating beneath the surface. So next time you step into a neon-lit bowling lounge, ask yourself, what other dead industries are waiting for someone to understand the hidden levers of value? If this story of transformation and unseen economics intrigued you, comment, and subscribe to explore more hidden systems shaping money, power, and success. Because in business, the most important games are often the ones nobody sees.